Zambian journalist Wamundila Chilinda, a visiting reporter from the Zambian Broadcasting Corporation. Chilinda, thank you so much for joining us this morning, for coming through.
Thank you so much. Point of correction, I'm no longer under the Zambian National Broadcasting Corporation.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Thank you for correcting. Where are you now?
I'm working on my own.
All right.
Yes. Yeah, I'm an
good.
independent journalist now.
Independent journalist.
Yes.
Thank you for the correction. I mean, you have been around Namibia for some time.
Yes.
Yeah. What is your overall impression on how we are actually mourning our late president?
First of all, I've never seen Namibians come together like they have done this time around. I wasn't too young when Namibia got its independence in 1990, but the crowds that I'm seeing now, it's the first time I'm seeing something like this in Namibia. It's the first time I'm seeing Namibians working together. I'm not just talking about us as journalists, but just generally all Namibians participating in the activities that are actually marking this a very important, I'll call it event because it's ongoing. Yeah, I think that is my description of what I've observed, impression that I have so far.
I mean, Namibia and Zambia have, strong bilateral ties. Government, also on a personal level, the two presidents had a brotherly relationship, I think, that we have all witnessed, and they were in the process of, reviving just some of these relations to strengthen them for both countries in ensuring, fostering, economic growth, development, for both countries. What do you make of, overall relationship between Namibia and Zambia, and of course, what have you observed in the relationship between the two presidents?
In my story that aired on news yesterday, I picked a clip of late President Kaunda, our founding father, from Solidarity Week and Namibian Talks, Namibian Independence Talk of 1984. What President Kaunda said in 1984 and what President Hage Geingob said on Saturday when going back to Zambia is one and the same thing. They keep emphasizing that Namibia and Zambian are one. And there's no way there can be anything that will happen in Namibia where Zambia will not be part of. That promise from the first President Kaunda that Zambia always stand shoulder to shoulder with Namibia will always continue. And no single president, remember the one we have now, President Hage Geingob, is the 7th president of Zambia. Yes. So the past 6, none of them has ever moved out of the way to break the promise and the commitment that Zambia as a country has to help Namibia in all aspects of life to do with all Namibians and Namibia as a country. So it's a normal thing to do. That's how people live. In the statement that Kaunda said no, Namibia and Zambians are linked through blood. So you can't separate the two. And that is true because sometimes when I am here, I feel at home, just like I am in Zambia.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's how it should be.
Yes.
I mean, you are also busy working on a documentary, or rather you compiled a documentary on the late, president. How was the experience? What did you observe? What have you learned through this documentary?
One big lesson is that our parents were selfless. Our leaders, this crop of leaders that we had of the late President Geingob, the late President Kaunda, the late President Nyerere, and all those Pan-Africans that we had, we really needed to work extra hard to continue with that brotherhood that they started. In my documentary, I also learned that it was not just an issue of Namibia alone. There were other countries such as South Africa In one of the clips, you see the late Oliver Tambo speaking at Solidarity rally for SWAPO in Lusaka. And you could clearly see the zeal. You can easily feel the brotherhood that really existed among these sister countries. So the question is, as we lose our leaders such as President Geingob, what do we take of it as the young people? How do we continue with these kind of ties that our parents have?
How do we emulate?
How do we emulate the way they have been doing things? If we continue with the same spirit, I'm sure we'll have a better Africa in the near future, especially with the digital space that we have at the moment. Yeah.
Now, the memorial and subsequent burial, how did it go for you?
I know there was a lot of work that was done in the background.
Absolutely, behind the scenes.
To make the two events a success. It is a sad moment, but we need to remember that we are celebrating a life of a true son of Africa. The memorial itself, when we looked at 14 hours, or 2 o'clock when the events were starting, I was thinking by probably 8 o'clock in the evening the program was going to be done. But look at the type of leaders that we had who came all the way to give support. By 10 o'clock, we still had speeches flowing from the Independence Stadium. And that clearly shows that indeed some burdens are lightened when you see a lot of people coming together. That only goes to show that the late President Geingob was a unifier. No wonder he was able to pull such a crowd in his death.
Absolutely.
So, talking about the memorial, it was a wonderful event. Whilst we may call it a national mourning event, but it was also an event to celebrate his life. I was encouraged by so many speeches that were coming from that.
In fact, speaking of international support from the international community and the speeches was going to be my next question, because what stood out for you in those, overwhelming and impactful statements? They
came from different places, different messages, and it was like some of these speakers, you could think some of these speakers could maybe could have rehearsed, and yet, of course, not. Every speech was special in its own way. Each and every speech was special in its own way. I remember one speech from the secretary from the Commonwealth. She told us she's a lawyer herself, and she doesn't speak without evidence. Then when she started giving evidence of what she was talking about in referring to the late President Geingob, you can actually tell that indeed, yes, he is a son of the African soil who really deserves to be sent off in such a manner.
In such a manner.
Of course, our Zambian president also had a chance to speak. And immediately we were informed that a road in Zambia has been renamed after the late President Geingob.
Wow.
What we used to call Kasama Road is now named after President Hage Geingob. He went further and withdrew another name of another road and named it after the first president, Sam Nujoma. So you can actually see the brotherhood that
yes,
has
the relationship
really continued.
shape,
Coming back now to finally to the actual burial. I really don't know how I can describe it, because the activities outside, the activities on the way to Heroes Acre. The Heroes Acre itself is another tourism attraction. It's another monumental place that when you are there, you feel you are in another world. And indeed, it was a success. Yeah.
Where to from here, Chilinda, now that you have covered, you know, the late Dr. Hage Geingob? What's next for you? Are we still going to expect more stories from you? Are you headed back to Zambia?
We need to continue writing this history. It won't end on President Hage's death. And we'll continue compiling everything about SWAPO, everything about our leaders and the independence of Namibia. So it's a ruta continua, like you like putting it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Chilinda, thank you so much for your time and your contribution this morning. And all the best.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Yeah.
Well.